Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to Lost the Plot. Today, you join me in reviewing the other summer blockbuster that was released on the 21st of July, and that, of course, is Barbie. Now, before we crack on with the review, I just want to hold my hands up and admit that going into this film, I was very, very sceptical. I thought this was going to be a superficial film. It's full of superfluous characters, and I wasn't really sure how this film, or if this film, was going to include any real message or meaning at all. And I'm here to say I was completely and utterly wrong. Now on to the synopsis. A Barbie doll thinks of death in the midst of a group choreographed dance routine and ends up visiting the real world, where her boyfriend Ken gets obsessed with horses. Oh, and the patriarchy. This film from me gets an 8.5 out of 10, and let me tell you why. First of all, this film has been superbly written and directed by Greta Gerwig, who had a clear vision in mind and has executed it absolutely flawlessly. Well, actually, I say flawlessly. I've given it an 8.5 out of 10, so not quite flawless, but close to. Close to. And one of the main reasons why this film is so successful is because of the script, which is excellent. And yes, is probably one of the most, if not the most important things going into a film anyway, but as I've said, it is very, very well written. It is ridiculously funny. It is very self-aware, but also has moments of real impact and meaning which are allowed to develop. I know, right? They're not broken by silly humour or ridiculous jokes. It allows the audience to feel all the emotions, which is exactly why this film is so impactful, funny, and emotional. And even the dialogue between characters is interesting, because it doesn't always feel tedious and forced, but actually impactful and relevant. Exactly what you need, and is quite difficult to do in a script for a whole 2 hours, or an hour and 54. And in talking about how good the script is, there has to be a special mention to America Ferrera and her beautiful monologue in Barbie Land. That might be a spoiler. But in this monologue, she outlines all of the problems of a woman living in a patriarchal society, and it was so very eye-opening and impactful. And with this wonderful script, actors were allowed to flourish and have some fun with who they are portraying. And I know you're probably watching this thinking, well, the majority of them were just Ken and Barbies. Yes, but each and every one of them brought something different to the table, which was refreshing, funny, and interesting, as well as the other characters that weren't Ken and Barbie in the film as well. But there definitely has to be special mentions to Margot Robbie, who was the main focus of this film and did a superb job, as well as America Ferrera, who again was so compelling, and Ryan Gosling, who may be in contention for an Oscar. I know. But I can safely say everybody that was involved in this film, actor-wise, did a fantastic job and should be praised because, again, it was a superb film with superb performances. And I've talked about how good the script is, and I've talked about the characters briefly as well. But there were a couple of characters that I had a problem with. Now, not beach-off problems. I weren't going to beach any of them off. But problems, mild problems, which I thought impacted the story a little bit. And the first one was Sasha, played by Ariana Greenblatt. This is a character that when first introduced I thought was so very compelling, and I actually really enjoyed her and her friends sat around the table talking about how the younger generation view Barbie. Very good, very good. But she ended up being a character that changed without any real reason and lost her sense of purpose, I thought, and just faded then into the background. She went from being this opinionated, strong-minded teenager to somebody that just conformed to everything that was happening and didn't really share her opinion as much as she did beforehand. She felt like she ended up being quite weak, and I didn't like that because she started off so strong. And the other problem I had was with the board members. Now, Will Ferrell was brilliant in all his Will Ferrell-ness, as you would expect. And I get the irony and I get the joke, but I feel like we followed them and they were included far too much, especially towards the end. Now, they were relevant and they were impactful for when Barbie first goes into the human world. I liked it. Again, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I get it. But I don't feel like they had any real reason or purpose to be in Barbie Land at the end, or even be in the film for that long. Didn't appreciate it, and I thought it just detracted from the whole ending of the film as well. And those issues aside, and like I've said, they're not beach off issues, we're not beaching anyone off here. They were just minor issues that I thought detracted from the story a little bit. Not a lot, a little bit. This is a film that's going to put a smile on so many people's faces. The soundtrack is excellent and is used wonderfully, and a lot of the songs are going to make you want to have a little bop in your seat. I'm not going to lie, the shoulders were moving at some points. The shoulders were moving. As well as the costume, set, nostalgia, which were all used beautifully to create such an aesthetically beautiful film that, as I said, is going to bring smiles to many people's faces and just bring a sense of joy and happiness. It is such a good film, and I never thought I would be saying this. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to get onto the main reason why I think this film is so absolutely brilliant. And actually, it's the main reason why I was sceptical about this film in the first place. And that's the message. And as great as Barbie is, and you already know I've said the film is really good, Barbie is basically a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin that is used to explore some real hard-hitting issues and problems within society in gender inequality and identity. This film will be so eye-opening and relatable to a lot of people, and is exactly what society needs to make a difference and make even more of a difference. Issues like these aren't something that people are exposed to all the time, especially if it doesn't impact them. But what this film will do is expose people to these issues and educate people, which is exactly what we need. Education. And I'm going to be honest, it was refreshing to see these ideas explored in such a thought-provoking and relatable way. I was impressed, and I'm going to say it, those were some of the strongest and most impactful moments I have ever seen within a film that I feel like will make people think and make a difference. I know, from Barbie, but it just shows how brilliantly this film is structured and written. I highly recommend everyone go and see this film. If you haven't already seen it, of course, which I expect a lot of people already have. But I'd also like to think that males would go and watch this film as well. Yes, it's funny. Yes, it's ridiculous. But it also gives you such an eye-opening perspective of what it's like to live in today's society. Something that I think everybody needs to be exposed to. This film was excellent. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I shall see you in the next one. Bye, Barbie!